Right here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hacktiba International Week. Thank you, Rodrigo Villalba and Benhur, to stay here with us. Firstly, present the Hacktiba International Week. Uh, my name is Danilo. I'm organizing Hacktiba, and I'd like to bring our mission, values, and purpose. Firstly, our mission is help cybersecurity ecosystem through research and share learning. Our values is research, investigation, discovery, learn, technical learning with a purpose, share in this moment, our moment to share with you, with in English or Spanish or Portuguese. And our purpose is inspire people to research, learn, and share, creating real impact on information security in Curitiba, is our region here, in a global level. Is the reason that we are here sharing information about the cybersecurity, AppSec, and other things related with the cybersecurity. And now I'd like that Rodrigo and Benhur, firstly, Rodrigo, present yourself, Rodrigo, please. Thank you so much to stay here.
Thank you, Danilo. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to stay here to share with you this Hacktiva International in the first edition. Is this the first edition, I guess, right?
Yes, right.
So pretty cool to stay here, and I'm really ready to start showing a little bit about OWASP.
Thanks. Benhur?
Hello guys, how are you doing? Here being from Snake. I'm happy to be here with you, sharing a little bit about security and AI, some AI for security or security for AI, and all the things that probably came to my mind in our space here this night here in Brazil. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks. And now I'd like to thank our supporters, OWASP Curitiba, Cavacom, the Paraguay, OWASP Chapter Fortaleza, OWASP Assunção, Paraguay. Rodrigo is from OWASP Paraguay. CATEI, Universidade Federal do Paraná. We will realize a presidential event in Curitiba in October. And CNETSEC Research Labs is Segura. We have an opportunity to Felipe Pires help us. Convisto Application Security is a company that I'm working now. In OWASP Paraguay, Chapéu de Palha Hacker Club, besides Rio de Janeiro, CVR Hunters. Then, thank you so much to supporting our event. And I'd like to invite Rodrigo to present about your theme, so your subject today. And I will share it on the screen, and Rodrigo can share your presentation. Thank you so much, Rodrigo and Benhur, you in the second session. Let's start our first session.
Okay, thank you, Danilo, Benhur. I'm sure probably the next Hacktiva I will be in the presential week or day, maybe. Well, today I will show you some cool things about OWASP and OWASP Paraguay too. But this presentation will have two parts. One part is more a little part related to OWASP in general. Probably it's too famous to have presentation, but I need to explain at least a minute about that. And the second part will be a little talk about probably the trends that I am seeing personally in the OWASP community. So I will.
On a
The
second.
slide is.
Yes. On a second. Yes, this is the correct.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
continue. Yes.
Okay, something about me. I am currently member of OWASP Paraguay, and I'm like a former software developer because right now I'm working more in information security. So as I said, I need to explain a little, at least, of what is OWASP. In 3 words, or more or less in 3 sentences, is a non-profit organization focused on improving application security, and is a global community worldwide. And the community started because the people in the community developed some resource, mainly for web apps, but during the years they evolved too much, and right now the scope is expanded, and it's organized by regions, some cases cities, uh, in others by country, like Uruguay, which is a really small country like Paraguay. But in Brazil, you have a lot of OWASP communities. So it depends. And I need to clarify that in OWASP, we have more or less 2 levels of projects. The level of the top are flagship projects and production projects that, they are production ready, they are widely used, they are mature. And, I can say that we can find projects like Shop, which is a very famous vulnerable web app that probably a lot of people, a lot of red teamers started, practicing using Shop. And another kind of resources that are more or less like documents, like the OWASP application security verification standard. Another pretty famous one is the mobile application security testing guide and the mobile application security verification standard. The flagship projects are the top level projects, and are really, really widely used worldwide at the top level of the enterprises. In the second level, we have production projects that, are production ready but not too widely used as the flagship projects. And then we have some projects that are not totally ready to use in production, but they don't mean doesn't mean to be, not interesting. Can be interesting too, and can be keep growing during the time. One example can be the OWASP AI testing guide, which is really incipient one, but maybe will have a lot of future. So it's important to say that not all the OWASP projects have a lot of maturity level. So if you have production project or flagship projects, yes, but if not, uh, I can say that have the rigorosity that probably will be needed for enterprises, or, to use in a short period of time. Well, also we have the famous OWASP Top 10, and we have the OWASP Top 10 that is a flagship project, very, very major, very famous and widely used around the world. But we have new efforts like the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs, because the LLMs are trending right now, and the AI are very popular topic in the world. So probably the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs will be growing a lot during this year, the next year, But right now, it's a lab project. And we can move forward. and say that OWASP is completely open, and in particular with OWASP Paraguay, we have official channels, so you can find us in that link. We did some activities. We started in universities. We started in Cavacom, presenting one project, which is inspired in UISOP. The project is called Cavapi, and you can watch on YouTube the video of OWASP in Cavacom. But also we had some meetings with some barbecues, to keep learning together, and talk about software, talking about vulnerabilities, and to have good moments with the colleagues. Especially, we have an event which is called OWASP Beer Shop. And the first edition, we had the pleasure to have Danilo, one of the founders of our OWASP Beer Shop. And this year, we have international presence too. We had to Fede Lucero from Argentina. So this started like an effort to have fun in the community, to have meetings in person, and scaled that crazy idea, scaled too much, and now it's more or less like a potential international event. So was a crazy idea from the community, but was right now a reality. It's right now a reality. So this is a link of the chapter, and you can find all the information here. Well, the part 2, I think, is the most important part to this talk, because in OWASP we have something called OWASP Nest. You can enter to the website of OWASP Nest, and you can have very interesting things like news, opinions, and you can have information about the projects that have more relevance, the projects that have more meetings, the projects that have more contributions on GitHub, who are the top contributor. You can find a lot of interesting information, and you can use like a newspaper of what is something new in the AppSec world, as example, because you can see what is concerning more to some people, to some community. You can learn a lot from the projects, and it's completely open. So I will recommend to enter to the OWASP Nest and go to projects and start to read about the projects, because you can find some projects that have a lot of potential, not only projects that are already ready for production, and you can find also other resources. So I pretty recommend that. So there is a work called OWASP Top 10 Predictions. As I told you previously, the OWASP Top 10 is the top 1 project of the community, and is a project where you can find a list of the top software security risks. Yes, and I will show you this graph when you can see the evolution during the years. And officially in this year, we don't have an official list, but we have a work from TCM Security And from another companies that you can find in LinkedIn and internet, you can find a lot of people who are doing the OWASP top 10 of this year like a prediction, trying to estimate the new trends, trying to estimate, according to the current data available, and how much can change according to the last OWASP top 10 of that is official. So what I am seeing that are some top concerns in the OWASP community for me are in the first place the vulnerable and outdated components, the top 7. Why I say this one? Because previously was in the top 9, and right now is top 6. This is a sign that probably this risk is growing. And also the top 5 that is about cryptographic failures. Well, I have a little doubt about this because OWASP have a lot of resources that are production ready to attack this problem. So if you have a lot of resources to attack this problem, it's a possibility that you will have less risk in the future. But I can explain later why OWASP is working, especially in this issue. So let's use again this picture just a reference. This is the evolution during the last 4 years. And why I'm saying that the top 5 is the top 6 right now. Why this can be a growing risk? Because in the OWASP Nest, you can detect a lot of activity, a lot of effort from the community for this problem. You have OWASP Cyclone DX, you have OWASP DevScan, dependency track, dependency check, and also you have the component verification standard that I don't know why I don't put there, but you have a work in a lot of challenge, in this kind of problem of detect if you are using outdated components or vulnerable components. You can have some challenge like transitive dependencies. A dependencies can use another dependency and analyze that and have a great visibility of the components of the software that depends from another component. It's a challenge for all that kind of tools. Also, you have the different ways to do the software bill of material that is the list of that kind of dependencies that can have some vulnerable components. Also, you have a lot of efforts in the reachability analysis and the prioritization of the vulnerabilities and those risks, because you can manifest one component, but you are not using a vulnerable method, so you can have a lot of noise in the data. And also because the number of open source files are exploding, so the community is working a lot on this kind of problem. So probably it means that the problem is increasing during the time. But in this case, this work of the prediction of the top 10 says that it uh, it will be from the top 6 to the top 7. So the risk will be decreasing. But let's see at the end of the year how much is growing or if decreasing. Also, you have some efforts that are constantly evolving for cryptographic failures, because the amount of uh, personal information data or sensitive data is exploding. A lot of apps that requires your consent to use your to store your information during a period of time are exploding a lot, and you have a lot of regulatory pressure, and there is a lot of potential new threats. But we have a lot of flagship and production ready projects that are helping us in this kind of problems. So you will have the cheat sheet series from OWASP that is a huge amount of resources compiled in this material. You have a pretty complete testing guide using OWASP Web Security Testing Guide. You have OWASP Proactive Controls, and you have OWASP Application Security Verification Standard. So you can learn a lot of cryptographic failures, a lot about that potential risk from a lot of really reviewed source. So probably if this material, this work from the OWASP top 10 for this year is okay, that cryptographic failure will be in the top 5. And let's see how much, this was in the top 2 in the official OWASP top 10 from the last time. So for this work, that risk of using, software with cryptographic failures, potentially can be decreasing too. So in the top 2, you have injection. As always, you have injection in the top concerns. But more or less, what I'm seeing is specifically in OWASP. Of course, all kind of risks are important. Of course, all kind of efforts are important, but especially I see those two ones, those two risks with a lot of effort in the community. So let's see how the list of this year will be closed, and let's discuss later if that kind of risk are decreasing worldwide. So again, I will put this link if you are interested to know more about this chapter of Asunción. This chapter of Asunción is not only from Paraguay, and it's not only from Asunción. It's, we have people from all the country, and we have a lot of people from Argentina and from Brazil. So you are welcome here, and potentially we will have another event soon, another OWASP beer shop, or maybe another OWASP coffee shop. So thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you so much. Anyone have a doubt? I put here in comments here. Hello, everyone. If you have a question or comments, Josimar is online, and other people would like to to write something or have any questions? Let's waiting.
I would like to know what things Benhur, or what do you think are the top concerns that are increasing. Always we have some risks that are like on the top of the new concern of, like, a new wave of a new wave of probability to have problems in the future.
I, in my opinion, could you hear me? Perfect. I think, in my opinion, two things here is what I think that will increase in the next few months or years. First is about injection, because of the prompt injection. And why? Because everything in the internet could have a prompt injection right now. For example, you have any system that gets content, untrusted content, and untrusted content is not malicious content. No, untrusted content is just something that you cannot control, that came from some place that's not sanitized, previously reviewed, etc. And if you process that content and add it to a prompt or a system prompt, or ingest into an AI or a language, an AI, etc., it's probably a search for a prompt injection. So it will be everywhere. So I think injection is the first point. And the second is about components. And why? Because of the MCPs in the AI development space. Practically every company will have an MCP, and it's like the new gremlins. It will be everywhere, and it multiply fastly as it can. So in my opinion, will be those two guys.
I'm looking this slide. I was thinking, for example, about. I agree with that Benhur said now, but for example, broken access control, I think is is occurring in many situations. For example, I put the link on chat. Smart contracts top 10. We can see many problems with APIs related with broken access control too. I think when have a AI coming now, uh, but we have basic problems yet. Okay, yeah, I think broken access control is a big problem yet for a long time. But I think that injection is talking about AI, for example, is a big problem. Problems with vulnerabilities of components that Benhur said uh, is interesting to think the future. So thanks so much for bringing to us this reflection of OWASP prediction, OWASP structure. It was interesting. Uh,
We have a question in the chat. That's a really good question. If you can
yeah,
bring it to the
yes, I
screen, would be
bring it.
good. How do you deal with cryptographic failures with the development team? Do you see this kind of weakness difficult to explore and show the risks of the development team? Go, guys, go ahead.
Okay, I will try to share this one. Let me know if you can. The image is okay.
Uh, I'm seeing the top 10 comparison.
Okay. And right now, I think Danilo have to change the
Okay, change this screen.
no, my screen of my notebook.
Okay, let me. Sorry. Let me. Okay,
Uh,
good.
Good one, good one. Well, if the question was about how to deal with this, the cool thing that OWASP top 10 is not only a ranking, is a completely resource about the risks. So you have in this document not only the details of the risk, you have also how to prevent. So this is the reason of how to deal with this issue, and you can, uh, with a lot of focus and time, we can talk about this kind of scenarios or this kind of advices. But normally, you can say that you it's not recommended to use legacy protocols, or mm, let's see, to use verify independently the effectiveness of the configuration and settings. A lot of interesting tips and advices you can find from the OWASP top 10.
Good. I have just adding 50 cents to the conversation. Vinicius, for example, when we talk about cryptographic failures, it could mean a bunch of things. And for example, it's not one thing is, hey, how do you hash the password? Okay, is using MD5, is using bcrypt, script. This is only one part of the problem. But for example, when we talk about, hey, all this data, personal data, will be saved in database without any type of obfuscation or cryptographic, etc. How we can prevent a data leak, or prevent a data leak is one thing. If the data leaks, how the attacker can access that data. This is cryptographic failures as well. For example, the cryptographic of the storage when we are using bad algorithm that we talked about, or for example, today we need to lead with quantum computing, and it's just some years from now that becomes a real risk, real threat. It's already a risk to become a threat in some years. And hey, Ben, but probably it will take 5 years, 6 years. Okay, if we need to change the entire internet to not rely on RSA or other certificate protocols, it's not 2 weeks to do that, So this is another thing that is really difficult. The most important part when we deal with the development teams is to give them the information about the risk clearly. For example, when we talk about database files, storage, etc., is what about if someone get this data? What's the impact? That is the most important thing right now. For other parts, like for example, why I will not use this cryptographic function, we need to show them the exploit, why we are recommending this. So this is our only two things that we can do.
I'd like to collaborate with some information too. Thank you, Benhur, to explain some things But I'd like to put some information, additional information. Uh, when you write here for exploring, show the risks to the development team. I think that it depends on situation. If it is your company, I think that you can use WASP content, you can use tools, but you can use AppSec practices to contextualize it for your environment. Okay. For example, developer needs to understand what you say, contextualize it with him development with because when you only show you need to put the best practice, but can you explain more? Let's try to do some explanation in for example, there is practice to help it, this explanation when you use threat modeling, when you use uh, for example, a real vulnerability on environment, but yes, we need to avoid the vulnerability. But with threat modeling, with talking about the situation, we have quality moments to talk with this team. I think that's interesting to bring the problem. I show my screen. In the last year, I report a vulnerability to for example, that you being said, for example, MD5. It's a problem yet. This problem not occur. Then I found this vulnerability report to meet, and the vulnerability is found on Hotel Druid, as a company of a product related with hotel. Yes, the problems occurs. Okay, replying you, the problems occurs. But I think that you need to contextualize our development team to bring using culture to bring us to our theme, our subject that is security. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah. Sometimes the culture development is undervalued.
Vinicius. Okay, can you reply for us in the chat? Do you have some another question? So thank you, Rodrigo. Now we will pass to Benhur. Let's share. I think that you need to. Let me see. Here, Benhur, you begin our second session. Thank you.
So, hello, guys. Today, we will talk a little bit about the AI risks in software development. And AI is not only used for productivity, but also for create these awesome images and videos that I enjoy so much to lost my precious time with. Okay, so thank you for all of you that has been here and ask questions if you need any time. Okay. So my name is Benhur. I am social science engineer at SNCC. Probably you already heard about this tool. I have a 3-year-old son called Noah and my wife's Tammy. I'm the maintainer for the Guia de AppSec. Is something that I try to post or update pretty regularly. And I'm also co-host of the WSS Café Seguro podcast and the DevSecOps podcast. You can find me in the LinkedIn, in the YouTube, and also you can send me an email if you have any question here. Okay. So okay. Now, first question: which one here is using AI in which level? Because we have normally 4 type of guys. First, the guy that's not using AI to generate code at all because they do not trust it. They think it generates just garbage and they can handle all the code by herself. And the second is using the chat mode. Okay, they open the chat GPT, ask for the code, copy the code, and paste in the IDE. The third one is someone that is using agent mode. So they give the power to the AI to generate some code. So they will review. And the last one is the vibe coder guy that I don't even look to the code again. I will generate it, I run it, I publish into production and pray for the next hour to everything will be good. Okay. And if there's anyone using MCPs, the Model Context Protocol, okay, it's a little bit new. The protocol itself is new from Anthropic, but this is how we can give power-ups on tasks and data using integrating the AI. So some of guys never heard about it. Some of the guys is okay. I know the MCP, I know the protocol, I know it's knowing by the USB for AI. I just want to plug a new tool here. And some of the guys is already using some MCP like the GitHub MCP, and so I can write instruction in the AI like in the cloud desktop. Hey, create a commit in this way for me, and it will commit directly to the GitHub. I don't know how you trust that, but okay. And the second is if you are developing the MCP. So we are talking a little bit more about this later in the presentation. Okay. Good. So let's talk about some statistics because numbers is always good, even if we invent it in the runtime. So first, we are seeing that 96% of all developers interviewed is using AI in some form to generate the code. So one of those forms is in chat, is in edit mode, or use some AI to get answers for these questions, or just copy the entire stack trace and put in AI and please give me some light here. And they are seeing a good improvement in the productivity. For example, they are getting more productive. So, for example, they can think more about the product and they can build faster. So they complete most of the tasks faster than the users that's not using the AI. This is the business. Okay, everyone is going there, and of course, is everyone going to these statistics that I can ship code faster. I can create products faster. It's not only some thing that the developers want, the business want. The business want that productivity to be more competitive, to put more features in the production, to get advanced on the competition, the market competition. So it will be everywhere, not only because us as a developer, I have a developer background. I was a developer, front end, back end, mobile, DevOps. I broke everything everywhere. Then I shifted to application security some good years ago, and not only us, not only developers want it. The business want it. The company, all the companies want this. Okay, so probably you already heard a bunch of these phrases here because the development is not secure. If the AI generate the code, I don't trust that code. Or probably if I generate the code, what guarantees I have that that generated code is not trying to put a backdoor a vulnerable purpose code inside my code? I will not use this anymore. But in one way, we have these all this phrase going here together, but the business is seeing your neighbor going 50% faster. So how we can match both things? First, let me try to explain to you in 3 minutes how LLMs works. Because if you are using AI to generate code, and if you think it's insecure and we want to take decision about it, it's important to understand how it works, at least the basics, to understand the risks. Because if not, it's like magic. Please don't touch that dragon, will kill us. You know that even a dragon. Okay, so when we are training a model, and why we can do that in the computer in our house, and the OpenAI have thousands, millions of servers to do that. Why? Because when we are training a model that will respond with generative way, for example, the LLMs will generate things. Okay, Gen AI, LLM is one part of the Gen AI. And when we ask something, for example, hey, what is the color of blah blah blah? You know, for example, if you ask something, when it's answering, it's answer word by word, right? It's like an animation, right? Is that is not a fucking animation. It's because every word that you are getting in response in your LLM had been calculated. I need to calculate the next word based in the previous word and other previous words. Okay, so when we are training, what's happening? So when I want to train a model, I probably need thousands of data. What is this data? Text data. We're not talking about multimodal, audio, video. Okay, text, code. It's a thousand of text and code. And we are like, just to be more simpler here, like if we are processing a bunch of txt files or pdf files. Okay, so if in one pdf we find this phrase, we start training and reading the text. I love programming in Java. Okay, this is just an example because no one likes to program in Java. Sorry, that's a joke. And first, it will split the words or the tokens. Okay, for example, I love programming Java. For each of these words, we will give it a number, a token number. For example, this one. Okay, so for each of those tokens, we will have a coordinates. That coordinates something like, hey, programming in Java, maybe it's similar because you are training. And we are understanding that things are similar by repetition, by the amount of information we have to have a comparison about it. So here, programming in Java may be similar. If it's similar, it has similar coordinates. It's like we are seeing a map. Hey, you guys will be in this north part of the map. The love I love will be in near to programming in Java because the first text I'm reading, probably you have some similarity. But if I read after that, if I read a romance book, I love will have another context, probably. It's similar, but another context. So you two giving coordinates. When I ask for example, I love, what will be the next token here? Well, it depends. If I trained more data using I love programming, so I love, probably the next is programming. If I trained more data with I love pizza, pizza will be the next token probably. And it can switch between the top most important tokens or the third most important tokens and need to generate. So what we want to get the information here is the model will respond exactly with the content it's been trained. Exactly the content it's been trained. And each content create similarities and coordinates for each of the words that, for example, this word was more related to that word. These words more related to that word. For example, and when we talk about the code generation, for example, when we create an API that gets an URL and a PDF, for example, probably const express what will be the next token. Normally, it's equal. The most of the content we are training const express equal, const express equal. Okay, so if you train a model with a bunch of Python code, it will never be able to generate JavaScript code because the braces was never been there. Okay, so understand that part. Let's talk about the risks, the AI risk, and start from the first. That's one of my favorites, the package recommendation. What's the package recommendation? Okay, if, for example, I ask it to generate an API that renders a PDF, blah, 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 and they use the express, right? If you ask to generate a code, for example, hey, generate an API for me that does that thing, it will not write the entire HTTP protocol from scratch, right? It will use a package. It will not write the entire reader and writer PDF in C from scratch. It will recommend a package because most of the, and why it happens? Because most of the examples in the internet does not write the fuck HTTP package from scratch. The code examples from the internet that the model was training for is using packages. Okay, good. So what happens if we have a bunch of content in the internet, and for example, OpenAI, Gemini, everyone is training their models in using content on the internet. All the fucking content in the internet. Okay? So if some one of us create a blog post, hey, let's learn how to create a package. That's the blog post. And we use a name just for the blog post. We are not creating that package and we are not publishing that package, right? It's just the blog post. It's just the article. So that package does not exist, but we have a content in the internet that maybe say it exists. Or when the model is trained, it's trained, hey, this is a package. And what about if this blog post, this article, is about to create a fake PDF? Or just for example, in the blog post, you say, for example, let's say you want to create a PDF reader package, but I never will create a package. It's just for the blog post. Okay, the models will be trained with that kind of data. Okay, and that data that we are using to training the models, the open source models, the proprietary models, is using the internet data. So in the internet data, we do not have only safe packages. We don't have only trust and good packages. All the data in the internet has all the time, all the packages, the vulnerable versions, vulnerable packages, not maintaining packages, non-existent packages, packages that existed in the past but today does not exist anymore because it was removed or something like that. And we have all of the information in the internet and the models are trained with it. And so probably you are asking right now, what happens if I request to an LLM, hey, create an API that reads a PDF and convert to an audio podcast for me and compress that PDF, for example, in a podcast of 10 minutes. That's a good tip. And the model can hallucinate, okay? And the model can recommend you a code using a package that does not exist. And what will happen if we recommend a package that does not exist? Oh, it will break the code. The code will not work because the package will not exist. Well, 1 in 5 packages does not exist. The most of the LLMs hallucinate those packages. And it was recommended 200,000 unique non-existent package names. And if not to happen once, if you repeat the process, most of them appears again. It's a repeatable process. And what's the problem with it? The question is because if Rodrigo runs and get a package that does not exist, then you will have the same problem because you're using the same model, for example. And well, only in 2023, more than 200,000 malicious code packages were discovered, and that those models was trained with this data. Okay, and of course now, but if it's not exist, what can go wrong? I want to hear you guys here in the chat, or hey guys, Rodrigo and Danilo, what do you think you can go wrong if a package does not exist? Of course, we can create one. If I know that some model hallucinates and generates a package name that does not exist, what I will do, I will create a malicious package with that name. So the next developer that will use that model, generate the code that contains that package, now that package exists. It's mine with malicious code. Okay, that's the first risk. So for this reason, we still need software that checks for dependencies, vulnerable dependencies, even if you are using the best AI in the world. Because the difference between an open source model and a $1,000 subscription premium model is the percentage of the hallucination. It's not true or false. It's the reduce of the risk, because that premium model has a bunch of researchers and fine tuners that's removing that trash data from the training, but it's not free of mistakes. Okay, now let's go to the second part, the code suggestion. Okay, so we are using AI to make code suggestion, and we know a bunch of fucking statistics that show that code suggestions is not safe. Okay, at least partly half of the code we generate has one or more vulnerabilities, and 25% of the vulnerabilities could be exploitable. All the application security teams that hear, hey, here in the company, we want to use AI for every developer. The developer is happy. The application security team start to taking drugs, drinking so much, and other kind of things like that. So yes, we as application security team, we are struggling, and we are struggling with the AI adoption inside our companies, and it will be a difficult because we can generate bad code, vulnerable code. We can install malicious dependencies. or vulnerable dependencies due to the vibe coding, and we need to take care about it. But when we talk about, for example, generate vulnerable code, what it means? What it means? Because what we are expecting, and if we try to check that, vulnerable code is not only, hey, I saw remote code execution here in this line. I saw that SQL injection that can crash my try. It's not only that. Okay, the model is getting better and less results of that kind of thing is appearing in our code. If you try to generate code today with premium LLMs, you see it's not common to see a remote code execution command there, okay, without any guardrail. But it's not that vulnerabilities we are talking about. Let's try a little bit with this simple prompt. Take it. We will create a to-do app, okay, that can track tasks. I can upload documents to that task, like image and PDFs, okay, and at least to have authentication and manage user profiles, okay? And I need to be able to download my data and backup it at my site. I will use the Node.js, Express, and SQLite for tech stack, okay? Guys, this is a fucking live demo, and it's AI. AI is non-deterministic. If it's non-deterministic, I can add a prompt here, and it works, maybe not work, maybe generate code with vulnerabilities, maybe not generate code with vulnerabilities, because it's not 100% of the code is vulnerable. No, it's not the statistic, okay? The statistic is a little bit. So it can happen, but I will try, okay? I will add the prompt here. I'm using Visual Studio Code with Copilot. And let me go to agent mode. Let's create some stuff, okay? And let it generate. Okay, first, okay, blah, 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 okay, you can create in this folder. Good. And it will start to create the code. Okay. Okay, good. Let's install some libraries, some packages. They need install Express, SQLite, Mutter, JWT, and Bcrypt, and Cars. Okay, good. It's working. At least the packages we have right now something. Okay, it start to create the code. Good. Okay. The Node.js, yeah, do you want to structure for testing? No. Okay, we have some code here. Let's just add git ignore. Just see it. Okay, that's good. Well, we have our prompt and we have our application here. Okay, so what's the vulnerabilities? Do you have vulnerabilities? Okay, we have one vulnerability here. That's about information exposure because you are not adding helmet or removing the headers or removing some information. So we already have one medium vulnerability here. Let's check. But I don't want to see this vulnerability. I want to see a little bit more, okay? So we are setting the Express JSON, okay? We are using the uploads folder. Okay, we have an uploads folder here. Let's see, we can authenticate. Good, it's the authentication handler, the middleware that checks for authorization. If not, I'll verify the secret or a secret hard-coded here. Good, so no recommendations about using environment variables or environment variables, not good, but at least it's better than this. So if the vibe coders do not want to code or do not know to code and believe here, we'll have a secret here in the future. But let's check another thing that's pretty good. It's about the register. Okay, I can create my account here. So I can use the username, the password, and the profile. Okay, first, we don't have any rules for the password. So it's another vulnerability. And we will insert the users. And if it's already exists, we have a user exist. Guys, do you get the vulnerability here? here is the user enumeration.
Enumeration.
I don't have any kind of rate limit. I don't have any kind of bot protection. And if an attacker has a list of emails, it can try to create accounts with that list, and our system is get, hey, this user exists. Hey, so this is user exists. Probably if I not have any captcha or rate limit or anything like that in this API, the others probably will not have as well. And the login does not have, and so I can check which user exists and probably use the same strategy like a brute force to try to discover the user passwords. And the password does not have any rules about the complexity. So if someone adds the admin or test as a password, it will pass and it will be easy to get that. So we had one prompt, one file, 70 lines of code, and 8 vulnerabilities. Okay, so it's not only the fucking SQL injection. No. Those are vulnerabilities as well. So we can get the profile. Okay, the profile is okay. The profile authenticate. Okay, it's okay. At least do not have a SQL injection. It's good. We can get the tasks. Okay, nothing that seems to be bad. Okay, good. And we can create tasks infinitely. So no rate limiting, and our database costs and storage costs to go to the heaven. And okay, we can add documents. Good, no file size checkings, so I can add gigabytes of files in uploads and flood the entire server. And I can get the documents. I can download the documents without any rate limit. So anyone can download everything or download multiple times and crash the server. So when we talk about the code generated contains vulnerabilities, it's about this we are talking about. You know, it's not only that line specifically with a shell command execution. It's about those kind of vulnerabilities, you know? Okay, good. That's it for today in that part. Okay.
Good.
And of course, it will never end because we will not all the code in the world will be good, and we still need to continue to train in that. And we'll continue to have threat actors creating bad code and flooding internet with bad examples just to generate the data that the models will be trained in the future. You know, so if you not have any sanitization inside the company that's training the data, that's we don't have much effort in fine tuning and sanitization for the AI everywhere, and it's difficult because you are training with the data with the entire world. Threat guys will continue to create bad examples that will be used as training data. Okay. For example, we can go to all the Reddit or go to all the Stack Overflow and other forums just to check some guys answering, hey, this package helped me. Use it. And that package is a malicious package, and that guy is not real, is a threat actor. Okay, it's everywhere. Good. Now, talking a little bit about how attackers, threat actors, is using AI to weaponizing malicious dependencies. That was pretty cool. Today at Sneak, we publish a blog post about the NX package. The NX package is a package to build and work with mono repos. Okay. And that package has millions of downloads, okay, every week. And the most probability is that the account of that developer was compromised. And if it was compromised, the attacker published five, I think it was five malicious versions of that package. And that malicious version has a post-install script. After you run the npm install, it will run the post-install. And the post-install has that code. It's running a child process, creating a process in the machine. And it has a prompt. Take a read at that prompt. It's like creating a prompt to read the entire computer. So this software does not have the signature of a malware. Like a malware that try to read the data inside a computer, The code is not it. It's just text. Okay, we will talk about what the problem with this. And the guy just get all the information about the computer, get the prompt, and using the cloud or Gemini or Q CLI to make that CLI process that prompt with this context. And the Gemini CLI or the cloud CLI take the prompt, take the data, and the cloud is doing the recon. And after that, they are getting the results and sending that result to a GitHub repository. And why it works so well? First, because now, if you have any application inside your infrastructure that connects to cloud or Gemini, it's not only applications development with AI, could be a malware. So some applications is connecting to Gemini because the applications we are developing now are powered by AI, but also an indicator of compromise. So we need to give permissions inside our infrastructure which application could connect with Gemini. Because if other applications connect with Gemini, it could be a malware running some stuff inside that infrastructure application. And why exfilter to GitHub? Because no one blocks the GitHub inside the infrastructure and it can steal the information easily. Okay, so attackers using AI, generative AI, to give the generative AI the power to handle all the things. And now the attack, the strategy is not on the code, it's on the prompt. So hacking now is practically becoming a text-free script. And a tool will process it. Okay. And do you know what is the best part of it? How do you get this kind of thing and put in antivirus? If a guy just get the same text, put in another AI and say, write the same thing in the other words. Or write the same thing in Japanese, in Russian. Okay? That's good. And the second is about the last part is about the model context protocol, or the MCPs you are using right now. Okay, how the MCP works, okay? You have the user, that guy that wants to generate a bunch of code or anything. And hey, create me a note-taking application, blah, 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 my vibe code instructions here. Hi, Dala, hola, Dala. Great master Dala. Hello, Psych Labs. How you doing, bro? Hello, Celso. Hello, bro. So that guy is asking you to create an application here. That part's good, okay. But the LLM the cloud desktop or the GitHub Copilot or the cloud, the Curse or the Windsurf, whatever, the Gen AI itself, the AI agent itself that's handling the AI, when when it detects, hey, do you have any MCP installed just to prepare my tool set box? Hey, we have the MCP. So an MCP for Snyk to detect vulnerabilities, an MCP for GitHub to interact with GitHub, an MCP for Jira to create tickets and see the things, all the things, okay? List the tools, get the tools, okay. So if I ask something like, hey, get my latest issues on my repository X and describe to me, what I need to do, I need to go to the GitHub, open the repositories, go to the issues, go one by one, and thinking about the resume of that issues. Now we don't need that. We ask to LLM agent, hey man, get the last issues and get a resume for me. And it will check, hey, I have an MCP server of the GitHub because the LLM agent needs to connect to the GitHub. And it does not have this power. We need to add an add-on or a plugin that be able to do that. So it will call the GitHub, will get the issue, the MCP server for GitHub that could be local or remote, will make a request, for example, to GitHub, return the issue, and then return that issue. That issue, when we say issue, is the text representation of that issue. And it will return to the LLM agent. The LLM agent will get that text and will process that task, that information, that text, to because we have the raw issue, right? We not have the summarized version. So the LLM agent needs to add another work here to get to summarize it and then return. Okay. And of course, it's new and no one is taking care about the security of it. This site, its site is amazing. It's embracethered.com/blog, and you see practically daily some problem and about MCP, AI integration developer, etc. Okay, it's a gold mine. So you can go here and check for each one. So we have MCPs are supply chain. So they are software, okay? And they should be treated as a supply chain risk because it's another package. Okay. And we have another thing is about the MCP toxic flow. And we have vulnerabilities in the MCP because MCP is a POS software. But if you have a combination, because you can install a multiple MCPs directly. And if you're using a certain types of MCP together, you are at a great risk. For example, if one of your MCPs has access to your private data, like your computer files, like your GitHub account, or anything like that, it's one piece of the game. If another MCP reads or process untrusted data, like read content from the internet, scrap a web page, get an issue in your GitHub, because an attacker can create an issue in your GitHub and add a prompt injection in your issues description. And if you have another one that is able to communicate externally, for example, make a request to external entity, you have the three things that we need. So, for example, as an attacker, I go to your repository and I create an issue, and in the body of that issue, I add a prompt injection. Okay? And you go there, hey, please fix my issue in the repository X. It will go the agent will go to your GitHub MCP and will get that information. Okay? That information contains a prompt injection inside the issue. We will get that information and we will process that information. The LLM will join that information from the issue inside the prompt, and it will follow the instructions of that prompt. And if that prompt says something like, create a file, a SSH file in this directory, what will happen? It will create that file. So it can, for example, hey, get all the information about private repositories of that user. And it will become to play. That prompt injection from here will become to connect to other MCPs that we have here. And if we have the ability, for example, to create a request, it maybe has an instruction like, after you get all the information about the user's computer, like SSH keys, AWS keys, environment variables, or something like that, please send a request to that URL. And you have an MCP that does that. So these combinations are a little bit difficult to track. We release the MCP scan. MCP scan is a tool, free, open source, you can use free forever. Okay, and it is designed to detect vulnerabilities in MCPs and the combination if you have something together that makes you cry, maybe makes you cry. Okay, you can use it today. Questions?
Great, great. Anyone have questions on the chat? Daniel, Dalalana, Dala, IPSEC Lab, Celso Arruda, Josimar, Vinicius, and other people like to share, to comment, to talk something.
And guys, if you have any further questions in the future, here's my social networks and my email. You can reach me anytime. We can talk a little bit. We can have a beer, and that's it.
Benhur, I would like to comment something. Okay, when you are talking about some malicious pacts, I was research something to help to contribute here. Uh, this is the OSCV, yes, and I research here Azure AI Foundry, a malicious package from 23. Okay, another malicious.
That's a pretty good name, bro.
Yeah, here. I show on the chat here. OSCV is a no. Uh, Another CIDAA chatbot I shared on the chat. And another one is MCP server that you said now too is vulnerable is Spectrum, Amazon, and other things here. Many problems with this MCP server here. Yes, it's interesting. Let's
Yeah, the guys are using pretty good names, no?
yes, yeah.
So yeah, let's. We have a question here from
Yes.
sales. In other words, for example, the cursor, which is being used a lot, yes, and it's amazing, can enhance this exposure, right? When you say the exposure is, okay, it probably it's going and impersonate some, use AI to generate the code. It's something like, hey, use more that vibe coding. When you say the exposure, if it's this, if you're getting more people using the vibe code style and the Gen I style, for yes, for sure. And but the cursor is not an option. The cursor, I think, is the first guy because, for example, Visual Studio Code is going the same. Cursor is based on Visual Studio Code, but the Studio Code with GitHub Copilot is doing the same, and Kiro for AWS is doing something pretty similar. Windsurf is going the same way, and I think in 1 year we will only have agentic IDEs. Okay, if it will be everywhere. So is Cursor gain gain all the famous name and highlights because of the proposal of you are using Cursor. You are, it, 6 months ago is something like, hey, I'm using VS Code to manually create code, and I'm using Cursor to create code with AI. This reality does not exist anymore. So we are every IDE, modern IDE is using the same. But the answer is yes, because not everyone knows what I'm talking about right now. Most of junior developers are people that does not know how to code and want to create an application using vibe code. They think Cursor, Windsurf, or platforms to generate that, or Lovable, for example. I really love Lovable, for example. How to deal with MCPs being a quick shadow in your environment. This is a fucking shit. This is true. This is faster than implement a scan in your pipelines or GitHub organizations. And that's a extremely good question, Vinicius. First, okay, MCP is the protocol. Okay, is MC. Much of guys in the internet say MCP is the new API. Okay, everything will be connected via MCPs. Okay, it's questionable, but we can see in the future. Okay, but MCP is important, is a big deal, and everyone is saying developing application security should learn it. That's the first thing. Okay, where MCPs are using? First, workstations, the developer machine. Okay, he's using AI and installing MCPs in IDs, in, for example, cloud desktop, in the CLI, any place that connects to an MCP, MCPs will be there. Okay, is when we talk about this is more about endpoint security, endpoint management. What it means, I want to know which MCPs my developers are using. So we can track if that operational system is using a vulnerable version of that software, the MCPs will be the same. Okay, it's part of their environment. So that's is one thing. Another thing is applications using generative AI internally, and that SDK that is able to use generative AI also has support to connect the MCPs. So you will write an application, and that application has a part of the code that use generative AI, and that part of that application can trigger side process spawn other MCPs. You know, it's like to have a bunch of softwares inside, or raising from one principal software. Okay, this is another thing. And this is first implement a scan in the pipeline or GitHub organizations. No, the scan in the pipelines and GitHub organizations for now is not optional. We always need this kind of pipeline. And what changes right now is for what we are searching in the CI/CD. For example, some years ago, I'm searching only for vulnerable packages, then vulnerable code. Now I want to search for which SDK for GenAI you are using, which model you are using in your application, because if you are using DeepSeek R1, for example, we don't want that. And we are checking if you are using MCPs, because these are internal external softwares and can trigger and has its own software running. Okay, it's like creating mini robots in runtime. So we are expanding the things we are trying to find, detect in the CI/CD. This is the detect part. Then we need to have the policies. Once we detect and identify what we will allow and what's not. Okay, so the pipeline continues to be one of the most important parts.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for presentation, Benhur. Thank you for presentation, Rodrigo. And I put here Vinicius talking about the good session. Thank you. Every person is here, listen, learning. Let's share this link with the community to if you know someone that not see us now, share with the people, please. Let's continue our community. Then we finish now. Thank you so much. Until the next session. And tomorrow you will have a cybersecurity session in Portuguese. But thank you so much, Benhur. Do you want to share something? Guia de AppSec, another thing?
Oh, we have the slides. The guy doing that, and I'll put in the chat
Okay.
later.
Yes. Thanks so much. See you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
see you.
See
See
you.
you.
See you.